This video is going to be a dedicated guide showcasing step by step how to breed competitive Pokemon in Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, geared towards new and unfamiliar players. Breeding was made very easy in Pokemon X and Pokemon Y, and a lot of the features that made it easy have largely been retained in ORAS. In my personal opinion, it's a little bit more difficult to breed in Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire due to the removal of the friend safari, but overall it's still very easy, and I'll show you guys step by step from the very start of the process. I'm going to presume you have some prior knowledge on natures, abilities, and where you can find competitive movesets and builds for Pokemon. And this video is specifically for new players, and I'm going to hopefully show everything in depth. But if you have any questions, there's a lot of really useful links in the description, and feel free to ask me questions in the comments. You're first going to want to use the DexNav to chain yourself and catch one male and one female version of the Pokemon you want to breed with 3-star potential. These 3 stars indicate how many IVs the wild Pokemon has. IVs are one of the most important things when you're breeding a Pokemon. Each stat is allocated an IV between 1 and 31, with 31 IVs giving you a 31 stat increase at level 100, which is huge, and there's ways you can make it so the Pokemon you're breeding has perfect 31 IVs in their most important stats, something I'll show you guys in a little bit. Also, whilst chaining your Pokemon, you may want to catch a Pokemon with an egg move you want. Egg moves pass down while breeding, and that's the only way they can learn them attacks. The egg moves a Pokemon can learn can be found on websites such as Cerebi and Bulbapedia. Links to those websites will be in the description. The Pokemon I'm breeding in this video is Absol, and there's no specific egg moves I want it to learn, so I only need to worry about chaining together and catching 2 Absol with 3-star potential using the DexNav. If you want to make the process a little quicker, while chaining a Pokemon you can have a Pokemon with the ability Synchronize and the specific nature you want at the front of your party. I have a Ralts at the front of my party with Synchronize and the Naive nature, and hopefully one of the 2 Absol will have the nature Naive, so the process of breeding will be a little quicker a little later on. Natures are just as important as the IVs, and of course I could just breed an Absol with Naive a little later on, but this will make the process a little quicker and save time a bit later on. Now that you're all prepared for the first step, you can start DexNav chaining. DexNav chaining is very easy. All you need to do is click the Pokemon on the DexNav, click search, creep up on it, and then defeat it, and repeat until you find one Pokemon with 3-star potential, and then continue until you find a second. We need both a female and a male in order for them to be compatible, so make sure you pay attention to that, but if you can catch more than 2, that would be highly recommended. Once you have caught at least 1 male and 1 female with 3 perfect IVs, then we can begin breeding. Make sure you check the IVs of the Pokemon you've caught at a Battle Resort's Pokemon Center. By talking to the guy on the right, he'll tell you which IVs quote unquote cannot be beat, which means they are perfect 31 IVs. If you don't have IVs in every stat that you want, spread across these first 2 Pokemon, go out there and chain and catch more Pokemon until you have Pokemon with perfect IVs in every stat you want to breed over. As I'm breeding a Naive Absol, I want Pokemon with perfect IVs in everything but special defense, and eventually I caught myself 5 Absol that have these stats. Now to start breeding to make an Absol with perfect HP, attack, defense, special attack and speed. You're first going to want to get yourself an Everstone and a Destiny Knot. These are absolutely essential. An Everstone will pass on the nature of the Pokemon who's holding it, which completely takes out the randomness, which is fantastic, and can be found at Granny Cave just north of Dewford Town, by where you obtain a Steelixite. You need the Magbike to get to it, but it's very easy to find. The Destiny Knot will bring over 5 of the IVs of the parents, which gives you a chance to bring over 5 perfect IVs from the parent Pokemon with 3 perfect IVs each, which is fantastic and is a little trickier to find. You need to head to Seymourville, and these 2 trainers here will randomly give it to you after a rematch against them. It's seemingly random, but it's still rather easy to get, just a little time consuming. Once we have them, we can begin breeding. Head to the Battle Resort's Daycare Center. This will be the easiest place to breed the Pokemon, and give the Everstone to whichever Pokemon has the nature you want to be passed on to the children, and the Destiny Knot to the other Pokemon. Give the Pokemon to the person inside, and you can begin going around the island. I highly recommend you having a Pokemon with Flame Body or Magma Armor at the front of your party, as this will half the amount of time needed for eggs to hatch. When you go past the child outside of the daycare, see if they've turned around to face you. If they have, grab the egg off them. If not, continue going around the island until they do have a Pokemon egg for you. When you have a full party of eggs, I recommend you use the Hatching O Power level 3 to hatch all your eggs a little quicker. If used in cooperation with a Pokemon with Flame Body or Magma Armor at the top of your party, you can hatch a full party of eggs within 3 minutes. Once you have bred a Pokemon with every perfect stat possible out of the first 2 Pokemon, you can put the Pokemon you've just bred into the daycare with another one of the Pokemon you chained and captured that has the other perfect stat or stats you want on them. That might sound a little bit confusing, so I'll explain it a little better. In this case, I'm putting this Absol I've just bred with 4 perfect IVs in the daycare with one of the other Absol I have chained with 3 perfect IVs, and eventually I will be able to get myself a perfect 5 IV Absol in the stats that I wanted to. And after a while, here we have my Absol with 5 perfect IVs in the stats that I wanted it to have them in. You can normally just leave the 6th stat as imperfect, especially for physical or special attackers, as the nature will reduce it anyway, so don't worry about getting a perfect 6 IV Pokemon. And there you have it. It gets a lot easier when you have more perfect male Pokemon breds that are in every egg group, as you can just breed a female Pokemon you want with one of the Pokemon you've previously bred to make perfect. I have around 60 Pokemon bred to perfection, and this means I can pretty much breed any Pokemon I want in no time at all. If you have found this helpful, a like would be really appreciated, and feel free to subscribe if you don't want to miss out on any more Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire guides. My next video will be an EV training guide with this Absol, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.